everybody, welcome to this week's Roundup. One last call for any questions you'd like answered in the upcoming IPS versus OLED video that I'm doing. I'm pretty sure I have all the questions answered that I have the ability to answer, but a lot of you all post some amazing questions, so I just wanted to double check. Quick spoiler, they're both ridiculously good panels, and I'm not sure if there's one clear winner overall, probably just a winner for whatever your situation is, but it's been really fun and kind of stressful digging into this one. So any other questions, please let me know, but I'm going to continue on and see what we've been got going on in the past week. First up, WESC has just released 3D design files for a 4x3 bezel that will fit Sony BVM A and D series 14-inch monitors, which is awesome because the D14s mostly came with 4x3s, but the A14s, it was much more common for you to see a 16:9 mask on those. So if you're an owner of one of those awesome BVMs and you're stuck with only the 16:9 mask, this is a file that you should be able to use, and you could either print it yourself or send it to any of the services to have it printed. And this is released under the Creative Commons BY license, the CC BY license. I think I got that right, which should allow anybody to basically use it as long as you credit the original creator. WESC posted a 3D model of it on social media if you want to check that out. But yeah, this is just an awesome thing for people who have one of those amazing displays, but not the correct bezel for retro use. So this is completely free, but if you want to support WESC's work, please consider throwing them a tip over on Ko-fi and checking out that page. But this is awesome, and I think a lot of BVM owners are going to be very happy about this. The Retro channel has just released a new Composite and S-Video mod for Atari 2600 consoles that should be able to be installed on all of them. And this one's great because the way the board works, it sits directly over the pins on the main chip on the back of the motherboard. So this should allow it to be a much easier installation than any one where you would have to manually attach individual wires to each of those pins. Now, obviously, this is Composite in S-Video, so if you already own an all RGB setup, you might want to go to Tim's 2600 RGB mod. But the fact is that so many of us game on displays where just going to S-Video or Composite at a much cheaper and much easier installation might just be the perfect answer, especially if you're gaming on CRTs, because the 2600 is a cool console, but a lot of the games on there, you don't need ultra sharp graphics. S-Video is more than good enough for a lot of them. But if your full setup is RGB, that's different because you don't want to have to continue to switch inputs and everything else. But either way, please check out the video. It is currently out of stock, but they're working to get them back in stock. So just keep that in mind at the moment. But yeah, I thought this was really impressive and I just wanted to share it. So check out the video for all the details, installation instructions, comparison notes, and basically everything else that you might need. A prototype for the previously unreleased Sega Saturn game Destruction Derby 2 was just released by Sega Extreme community member VBT, and this is a somewhat playable version of the game. I guess there's one track that you're able to play at this point, and of course you could just play the PlayStation version of the game if you wanted to see what it was like. It's very cool to be able to just see what would have been on the Saturn. And I guess there was speculation that the version got canceled because it didn't look nearly as good as the PlayStation version of the game, but you're going to have to check this out and see for yourself. You know, as with all of these unreleased game releases to the public like this, you just have to approach it knowing that it's not going to be a full game to play through. There's going to be something up with it. In this case, just one track and a lot missing. But I think from a historical and just curiosity standpoint, these are all worth spending a few moments with if you're into this stuff. If not, then, obviously whatever. But I personally think all this stuff is neat, and I appreciate Dan's post and a look directly into what this version of the game would have been like. Tito from Macho Nacho Productions just posted a video about he, as well as WESC, Red Herring 32, and Stuck Pixel painstakingly rebuilding the X-shaped original Xbox prototype out of all metal. This video is absolutely epic. If you like Tito's normal videos, you're probably going to love this one. And if modding videos really aren't your thing, there's a lot more to this than that. So please give it a try anyway. This is personally my favorite one of Tito's videos, and I was just glued to the TV the whole time. It was 45 minutes long and it felt like it was 15. It was just really cool to see all this stuff go together, to see a working recreation of the original, and to see what Tito, as well as Wesk, Red Herring 32, and Stuck Pixel went through in order to make all of this happen. So this video is for everybody. I want to see this thing get 1 million views on it, because if you're slightly into video games, video game history, cool projects, rebuilding stuff, making stuff out of metal, there are so many types of things, or so many types of genres that this would cover. So basically, just watch it. Trust me, you're not going to be disappointed. This was so cool, and I was just really excited for Tito, because I feel like this one's going to get millions. It should get millions of views. I hope it does. So please share this one. This is so cool, and I was just really excited the whole time watching it. And even though I talked to Tito all the time and I kind of sort of knew how it was going to end, I still wanted to see how it ends. So yeah, great video. Please give this one a watch. Now it's time for this week's Mr. Updates, care of Lou from Lou's Retro Source. As usual, I'm just going to quickly skim through these and give my thoughts where I feel like it, but if you want all of the details and updates, please check out Lou's video and subscribe to him as well. First up, Wizzo recently wrote a technical article on the Zapparoo website discussing some of the things that he's working on, and it's kind of a tech deep dive, but if you're a fellow nerd, you're probably going to be into that anyway. And Wizzo also posted an update showing off some improvements to video launching on Mister, and there's less page tearing on playback now, so it works a lot more like how a core seamlessly starts and stops. Also, the Taito F2 core has added another soccer game to it, Eurocamp 92. The NES core has had a bunch of updates implemented, such as new mappers and a major rework of the PPU and fixes for the CPU. Martin, aka Wickerwaka, has updated the Taito F2 core to support 7 Japanese quiz games. The Ypsilon updated downloader to version 2.2.1 to include support for a custom HTTP proxy, so if that's something you need, now you have the ability to do it. And Hotego has completed adding all games to the System 18 core, with the latest release including DD Crew and Hammer Away. And Hotego also said that Konami's Premier Soccer is planned to be included in the next update for the JT Riders beta core, and that work for the CPS3 is planned to start around the end of this year, which is awesome if you're a Third Strike fan, but once again, work on that core is planned to start by the end of the year. I just want to make sure I curb everybody's expectations here. The Coin-Op Collection team reworked the Toaplan V1 core and introduced some improvements. You could read a full detailed list if you'd like to. The Superstation 1 has some packaging shown off that will have a similar look to the original PlayStation's NTSC launch packaging, which is very cool. And Taki has also asked that if you are a homebrew developer of games from basically cores that run on the Mister, and you have a free version or a free beta or something of it available, reach out, because Taki was looking to include those as part of the bundled in games. So once again, he's not asking anybody to give stuff away for free, but if you already have free games that you give to people to use on those, just consider reaching out. Maybe it'll be included. Also, the multi-system team has released a new snack cartridge for DE9 controllers, and with this you could connect Atari, Commodore, and Sega controllers, and also mice to various cores in Mister. And while it is one of the carts that plugs into the Mister multi-system, you should be able to use it with any Mister just via its port in the back. There were also updates to the Mega CD core as well as the PCXT. So if you rely on Lou as much as I do, please consider supporting on Patreon, and at the very least, just sign up on YouTube, because YouTube subscriptions are free, and I wouldn't be able to keep up with all this without Lou. So we want him to keep going. The developer E8 Root has just released a custom firmware for the original open source scan converter called Void Scaler that turns it into a really powerful downscaler. It could take 1080p or 720p signals and downscale them to either 240p or 480i using either line blending or line decimation. So you get the best of both types of downscaling formats. And at the moment, it only accepts inputs via the VGA input, which is fine because HDMI to VGA converters are very cheap. You can get zero lag ones that don't mess with the colors at all for under $10, the same ones that Kuro had reviewed a while back. And on the output side, you're also going to need a DAC as well, and that's where things do get a little bit trickier, because HDMI to component ones that you could buy today don't usually support 15 kilohertz. You could get another one of the HDMI to VGA ones, and since this actually outputs C-Sync, You would only need something like one of the RetroTink VGA to SCART cables, or of course an HD15 to SCART would work as well. But yeah, this is a free firmware for a device many of us probably already own that completely breathes new life into it. Marco from Marco Retro did an awesome video breaking down absolutely everything that you would need to know about it. The only thing to note is you might want to have a JTAG USB blaster ready in case something goes wrong with the installation. Those are cheap and super easy to use. Basically, you just have to update it manually instead of over the micro SD card. But Marco was able to get his OSSC updated through the micro SD. I haven't had a chance to use it yet, but I am really, really planning on it. And this is just absolutely incredible. Now, a classy person would never say, I told you so, but I'm not even the slightest bit classy. So I'm going to say, I told you all, do not sell your original OSSC after upgrading. Leave it as a tool in your toolbox because you will always find a use for it. If money's tight, that's one thing, but I still use my OSSC on a regular basis, even though I generally game through the RetroTink 4K when I want to use it on flat panels or do streams or anything like that. I still use the OSSC as an incredibly powerful tool, but wow, I did not expect to be able to use this as what might end up being my dedicated downscaler box. This even has aspect ratio control, so you could use it to get high quality TV if you wanted to just do stuff like plug not only game consoles, but like I showed in the other video, just put your streaming box into one of these things, and now you could have quality TV, not just the composite and S video versions, but you could have RGB SCART for this stuff. So thank you so much to E8 Root for doing this. Thanks to Marco for doing an awesome video covering it. And I would love to do my own live stream showing this off at some point. Maybe if there's another firmware update or something, I could help just bump the project a little bit. But this is really, really cool, and I'm looking forward to seeing how powerful this is and what other weird things I could do with it in order to implement it into my strange CRT-based TV and movie watching setup. A Kickstarter was successfully funded for a Vectrex Mini, which is exactly what it sounds like, a software emulation-based little box with a screen built in that is about 50% the size of the original Vectrex, with an AM OLED display that comes with 12 built-in games, each with their own overlay, just like the original had, where you slide it in, as well as a Bluetooth controller. And it also includes an SD card slot that allows you to load your own games, which is awesome. Now you're not just locked to 12. You could play all of them and whatever other weird and fun homebrew was released for the Vectrex. There's a lot of cool stuff on that platform. The price is about $175 for the standard black bottle and $100 more if you want the all-white limited edition that's only for this Kickstarter campaign. And that you could also get just the Bluetooth controller for $85 that comes with an adapter that connects it to the original Vectrex, which might be handy for anybody that's interested in that. And also, there was something, a feature they added that I thought was so cool and such a neat thing to add to this. And I think what they said in the Kickstarter is the best way to present it. So I'm just going to read right from it. We know how mini consoles often end up. You play for a while, then they become display pieces gathering dust. So we came up with an idea. The Vectrex Mini doubles as the ultimate geek clock. Place it on your desk or bedside table and it will display the time, date, weather, and even an alarm, a functional tribute to gaming history that becomes part of your daily life. If I had disposable income, I would buy one of those things just as a clock. That is such a cool idea because it's exactly what happens. It's really fun to mess around with these things, and they often just end up sitting on your shelf, and you pull them out once a year, and you're glad you bought them most of the time, but then they just kind of sit there, and now you could have the ultimate display piece because it doesn't just look cool, it's very functional. The only downside, which is also a good side, is that it's scheduled to ship to customers in a year. So, on the good side of things, that means the team has a very reasonable expectation of how this production process is going to work. It always is a huge red flag if you see these Kickstarters like, yeah, we'll be done next month so we can ship in 2. No, that's not how it works at all. So it's nice that they have a realistic expectation of this. But on the flip side of things, you're paying now to wait a year to get the thing that you ordered. Obviously, tons of people don't care about that because this thing was successfully funded immediately after the Kickstarter campaign launched. But it's my job, duty, whatever you want to call it, just to remind people that, it's a year away. A lot could happen in a year, but this is awesome. If I had the extra cash to throw around, I would totally get one just for the heck of it, because that is absolutely awesome. So if nothing else, check out the Kickstarter. They also have a book and some merch and stuff if you just want some fun Vectrex related things. And even if you're not a Vectrex fan, just check out the Kickstarter campaign. It's got a bunch of fun stuff on it. And even if you don't buy it, it's worth a quick scroll through. Next up, I get asked all the time for a recommendation on just a basic power strip that I would use with retro consoles. And I am so sorry it took me this long to do a review on one, but I did find one that I liked a lot with just one catch, which I'll get to in a second. But it's a 12 outlet strip that comes with 3 different color choices. It's under $40 and it's 32 inches long, so it is on the longer side. You're not going to tuck this under a small area, and probably not onto a retro cart, but in most other stationary setups, it should be totally fine. It's got a 5.5-foot power cable, and the plugs are spaced out far enough so you could actually get old retro wall warts in there. Of course, you might have to rearrange some of them, so you put smaller ones between 2 of the giant ones, but I was able to plug in the biggest ones I had here, and they all fit fine next to each other. They weren't touching, they were very close, but that's fine. That's all you need with the power bricks anyway. And the connections for each of them were absolutely rock solid, to the point where sometimes it was kind of hard to get the plug in. But in the video, I flipped it upside down and shook it with 3 heavy power bricks. And that part of the video was not sped up. For a lot of these reviews, I always just like speed up the boring sections. When it came to the time where I actually started shaking it, that was in real time, and it really is that solid. So if you're using it the way I am using this particular one, where you just want it stationary, you want to plug all your stuff into it and never touch it again, this is definitely one I would recommend. The one caveat is if you're looking for a benchtop power supply that you're constantly unplugging and replugging stuff into, this isn't for you because it is too snug to do that. It would just get annoying after a while. And also for a benchtop one, I would also love ones that have individual power control, which would be completely useless for the scenario I have here. It does have a power switch on it, but for a benchtop type of, I'm a modder, I'm constantly plugging stuff in and testing, this might not be for you. But for everybody else, it definitely is something you should consider. And the only thing is, do you need one this long with 12 inputs? For my setup, both on this desk and in the setup behind me, it would be absolutely perfect. And once I finalize that, which, haha, my setups are never finalized, but I might actually mount one of these to the wall just out of view and have it as a stationary one for the setup behind me as well. So, cheap, very short video, shorter than this section here, showing it off and taking it apart to make sure it's not complete junk inside. Check it out if you're interested. But yeah, this is now my absolute go-to for anybody who asks if I would have a power strip that I recommend. So when I started the second channel, I told all of you that this is basically what I do for everything I buy anyway. All of the same tests and double checking that I didn't buy garbage. And with these other extra videos, I'm literally just hitting record on my phone or my camera that's on a tripod and doing the same tests I would do anyway. And I couldn't think of a better example of that than this review I just posted of a small space heater. I needed something for a small room. It needed to be quiet and it needed to keep the temperature properly, and it needed to be safe. If it got knocked over, I didn't want it to light my house on fire. So that's exactly what this is. It's a very short review, but with all of the weird, nerdy, deep dive stuff you would expect out of me, making sure that the heater does what you want it to do. And people were nice enough to comment that they own this one and also agreed with me that about all the stuff that I said. They liked it. They wouldn't have used it for a very big room, but for a medium to small room, it's totally fine. So yeah, I just want to keep sharing these very short videos with you because maybe you need a space heater. It's getting to be winter, it's getting to be cold, or maybe you think it's ridiculous that I'm reviewing a space heater. That's totally fine too. I also kind of think it's ridiculous, but I would have done every single one of the things you saw in this video anyway, so I might as well try to help some other people while I'm at it. So have a link to Bob from RetroRGB reviewing a space heater if you want to laugh. Well, that's it for this week. One quick side note, I record all of these in front of a window because I find my just general being is happier when I have natural light all the time. But the huge downside of that is days like today where clouds keep coming by, the white balance completely gets messed up. So if I set it one way, I look orange whenever the sun comes out. If I set it the other way, I look like dead when it goes behind a cloud. So if you're watching this and you just keep seeing me change color, no, it is not intentional. I don't have some weird RGB lighting up on my wall to try to make me look like I sat in a tanning booth too long. I just thought anybody watching this on video might get a little kick out of that. And once again, feel free to point and laugh. I do my best, and the white balance of my face on a cloudy to sunny day isn't really going to affect anybody's weekly news, so whatever. Anyway, as always, thank you to everybody who watches, listens, plays nicely in the comments, and especially thank you to anybody who supports in absolutely any way, because it really is you who's keeping all of this stuff going. So thank you all so much, and I'll see you next week. This week's Roundup is brought to you by Neo Paradigm Entertainment, connecting Southeast Asian influencers with opportunities in the West.